We're going to bring up onto stage Chris Hutchinson, who's the Chief Customer Officer for Travel Time, and Ben Amos, who's the Senior Product Manager for Zoopla. And they're going to actually talk about how you deliver a personalized search experience using travel times as one of the key drivers. So, gentlemen, welcome on stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon.
There we go.
Great. Hello. My name is Ben Amos. I'm a Senior Product Manager at Zoopla. I'm going to click on. Zoopla is one of the largest property portals in the UK. We receive around 40 million sessions a month. That's to our website and our mobile app. We're a destination for home finders, so consumers looking for their next home, but we're equally a destination for homeowners, and they're homeowners that want to understand the value of their property, but then also research the local market. Zoopla has always been part of a wider group, and you may have seen press coverage recently that that parent company has changed and rebranded to Houseful. Houseful is all about building the connections that power all of our home decisions. That could be customer-to-consumer connections using our CRM software. It can be through data connections, where we send data, risk, and valuation models to banks and mortgage lenders to inform their lending decisions. We have our marketplace connections in Zoopla and Prime Location, your typical consumer to customer. And then homeowner connections. We're trying to help homeowners connect with mortgage brokers to help with their remortgaging needs. So collectively, you can see that Houseful is serving millions of consumers and customers and probably billions of connections. My role at Zoopla is to help home finders find their next home and connect them to our estate agents and our house builder customers. I want to talk about two things today. Travel Time, how it's meeting the needs of our consumers, but especially meeting the needs of our consumers in today's UK market. And secondly, how Travel Time could fit quite neatly into a personalization strategy. So let's dive in. It starts 5 years ago, where things were relatively normal, dare I say it. UK mortgage rates were low. I had no kids, and I could play golf most weekends. But we also ran this survey, and we asked consumers, where do you want to live? And let's go through these results. On the left-hand side, there's a solid 30% of consumers telling us they know exactly where they want to live, to the house and the road, so very specific. A further 20% know the neighborhood, as in they might want to be close to a local school. Now, on the right-hand side, we have 20% of consumers telling us, I do not know where to live, but if I do, I only know the very broad region. So we have 1 in 5 consumers telling us, I need some kind of location intelligence, some help finding new areas, contextualizing location. And then the middle segment is I know the town, but I don't yet know the specifics. So again, this is another segment, a cohort of users that we could help contextualize location and figure out distances to stations and schools and drive times. So you can read it left to right and say, well, actually, I've got 50% of my consumers that know where to live, but right to left, I've got up to 49% that need some kind of, they need help finding new areas and contextualizing location. Travel Time empowers consumers to contextualize location and find listings that are relevant to them. If we fast forward now to 2023, things are very different. Remote working is a norm, it's an expectation. We're seeing more migration out of cities into rural and coastal areas. But also the UK market has just gone a bit nuts. So the average 2-year mortgage rate has gone up to 6%. We've not seen mortgage rates like this since 2007. That's 15 plus years ago. Add to that inflation and cost of living. There was a a newspaper article the other day, and the Bank of England warned if you're remortgaging in the next 3 months, you're going to need, the average household will need to find £220 to cover the mortgage costs. But they expect that figure to be £500 by 2026. So we have an affordability challenge. It's not going away anytime soon. And what does that mean for consumers? Well, they're going to need to be a bit more flexible when they do want to move. They're probably going to need to move for necessity. And when they do move, they probably want to find the best thing they possibly can afford. And that's where travel time can come in. This is research from this year as well. So on the left is a survey conducted by Jackson Stopps, estate agents. Again, this was published in a national newspaper. But I love the responses to this. They're asking consumers, what's important to you when you're finding new areas? And the top answers, I need to be close to green space, close to a park. I need to be able to commute to work. I need good connections by train and by car. I have to be close to shops. I want to be close to the countryside. I want to be to the coast. All the top answers are telling us I need to understand proximity to things. And on the right-hand side is our own internal home buyer interviews conducted by Zoopla. And we're hearing really familiar sound bites. We're hearing location is just as important as the property itself. We're hearing things like, location is flexible, my price is fixed, I cannot budge on my price, but my proximity needs need to be met. I need to keep my way of living the same. So 2023, a clear case for travel time meeting the needs of our consumers, especially where affordability is a challenge in the market. Now, it's time to act, right? Zoopla to step up and act. So to date, we have really underutilized the travel time tool. I think that's fair to say. But for the consumers that are using the travel time tool, we're seeing 3 times the conversion rate versus a typical homepage search, for example. And that's got us curious, right? That's making us curious. And we're saying, well, what if that 1 in 5, 20% of consumers on the homepage, which is probably more like 1 in 4 in today's climate, what if we can convert 1 in 4 of those consumers into a travel time search rather than a homepage search? We're lucky with our scale. We're fortunate that a change like this could deliver our customers another lead every month, and with very little product development effort from my team. Why are we seeing 3 times conversion? Well, I want to talk through this example. This is my commute to work. I actually do live 10 miles away from the central London office. I live in a town called Beckenham. And typically, if I didn't have travel time search, maybe I'd do a 10-mile radius from the sort of London Bridge train station, and I'd find listings within that radius. That's the search on the left, the concentric circle, is my 10-mile radius search. The search on the right is the same search, but it says, show me locations and listings that are under 60 minutes travel time to my office. Now, geographically, I don't know if you can see this, but geographically, they look kind of similar. Okay, the concentric circle and the polygons on the right, they look fairly similar, but there are 2 key differences. The travel time search on the right-hand side has identified maybe 5 or 6 locations outside of the radius, and also outside of London, unlocking new areas for consumers that are potentially more affordable because they're outside of London, but I'm still going to be able to get to work in under an hour. Also, the number of results has changed. So the radius search on the left generated 5,000 results, but the travel time search has generated 4,000 results. So that's a 20% reduction in listings, but most importantly, it's just reduced all the noise. It's reduced all the irrelevant listings that didn't match my travel time need. So best case scenario, I'm going to save my consumers time in their searching process, but also maybe money because I'm unlocking new areas. So travel time into search is a great launch pad, but we need to really embed travel time into the search experience to unlock further value. And to do that, we need to understand, well, how do consumers get to Zoopla in the first place? So half of our traffic lands on 2 templates. So the search list page, and that's typically through Google, organic link onto our search list page. Or they land on the listing details page, and that's probably because I've shared a link with a partner and they've clicked through, or I have a saved email alert and I've clicked the listing on that, or possibly from a social ad as well that we just heard. Now, if I take the search list page as an example, I think the next best question, potentially, we could ask consumers is like, where do you need to get to? What do you need to be near? What is important to you? If we can do that transaction on the front end with our consumers, with the response with travel time, we can do two things. We can decorate the listing cards with travel times, making the listing more transparent, and hopefully consumer finds listings that are convenient for them. But also we control the order of our search results. So actually, with the response back from travel time, we could go one step further and sort the results by proximity, showing the consumers the nearest thing to their travel time requirements. So this is a great way of, if we can embed it into the search list, where we're getting to is that every consumer will come with a different requirement. They'll input their requirement, and then we're serving listings that match their requirement. We're starting to talk to consumers in a one-to-one personalized way, but we don't stop there. So the next logical step is to remember that transaction of a travel time to then also leverage personalized experiences in subsequent user journeys. Now at Zoopla, what we do is we capture certain events. They might be GA events as a consumer travels through the site. We capture information submitted by the consumer. They might fill out a lead and they might identify themselves as a first-time buyer, for example. These events and these nuggets of information we store in a repository, and it's called the Single Consumer Profile. And with this repository of information, we send it onwards. So we've built a personalization API so that we can send this information and we can offer personalized messaging and like next best action nudges to our consumers. We send it onto our email CRM provider so that we can make sure that we're serving relevant emails to our emailable database. And also we get to extract the information. So we have a data science team that can extract the events and the user IDs, run models, and put in propensity scores back into the repository. So we can maybe better identify this person has a high propensity to be a new home customer, or this person has a high propensity of a property that they have to sell. And that's great for various reasons. We can start to recommend better listings. We can recommend better geos. We can serve content at the right time, at the right stage. And if we do any customer marketing, we can make sure that we're sending that marketing to our emailable database to the right cohorts of people. And then that's going to benefit both the customer and the consumer. I'll talk through a live example right now. We have a collaboration going on between our content team, our data science team, and myself in product. The content team are building area guides. So what's it like to live in Brighton, for example? House price information, community, nightlife, etc. Standalone pages with a view to bring traffic into the site, an SEO play, but also to educate our consumers on new areas. And at the bottom, the data science team are building a similar geos model to say, well, if you like Brighton, you might also like similar locations based on the various data and information they're doing. So we have that two-way connection going on, and then I'm coming into the fold now and saying, well, hi guys, I have a consumer who's just submitted a travel time transaction, and they might need to know more about certain areas. How do we get the most relevant area guides in front of these consumers? And that's something we're currently working on now. So I'm going to summarize now. Consumers, they need flexible search solutions, especially in a market like today where affordability is a challenge. Travel time is a flexible solution, and it's meeting the needs of our consumers. It allows them to find new areas, allows them to see the most relevant results. We're going to get to individualize those search results. So we're talking in a one-to-one way, and then we can use it as a transaction to power further personalized experiences. And that is it for me. Thank you. It's been a real privilege to share the stage.
Is this going to work? Hello. Yeah, I'm going to talk very briefly around some of the other ways we see travel time data being used in property portals. So yeah, a really quick recap on the progression of location search. So yeah, V1 is that kind of straight line distance search. I think we're all familiar with putting in a location and then choosing a 1 kilometer, 5 kilometer, 10 kilometers from a drop-down. But as Ben discussed, when it comes to property portals, this has some issues. The next step in this is to use travel time information. So generate a polygon showing where that user can get within a certain amount of time from that location, and then using that to filter the properties you then show them. But this still has some problems. First of all, it only gives us one extra piece of information, whether each of those properties is within that area or not. And it also can be quite slow to do this. And yeah, anything that slows down the results getting to the user, obviously a very bad thing. So where we see kind of the next step is to use the individual travel times to every single property in the search itself. So what does this look like? Again, some of the examples that Ben has already shared. The first way is to enrich the listings that you're showing in the search results with individual travel times. The benefits of this, so people are going to want to find this information. And if we don't show it to them, the natural next step is to go somewhere else to find that. And I think people are always familiar with kind of bouncing between search result pages and somewhere like Google to check, how long would it take me to commute from each of these properties to my office? It's also a really great way to start personalizing the results that we're showing people. So showing the travel times to locations that matter to them as individuals, and also using the modes of transport that they care about. So maybe they want to know the drive time to their kid's school, but then the public transport time to their office. And it also, just generally improves the UX. They're not bouncing around, and we're giving them the information they need in that search result rather than having to go elsewhere or even go into the listings themselves. The second way we see this used is embedding those travel times into the search itself. So this is calculating the travel times to every single property and using these to do a couple of things. First of all, to filter the results that we show to the user, and kind of more importantly, actually to rank the results that we display. So this is all about increasing the relevancy of those properties that we show to the user at the top using the travel time preferences that they've inputted. Also, as Ben said, it helps them discover new areas that might get missed by a more traditional search. And what we see is, when people search using time, they convert at a much higher rate. And sort of hot topic, I guess, over the last couple of days, we can also use travel time to kind of expand this search to take into account multiple locations at the same time. So maybe we know that user wants to be within 45 minutes of their office, but also has preferences involving more general things like access to green spaces or parks or golf courses, gyms, this kind of thing. And by being able to calculate the travel times between every property and all of these kind of important locations, we can feed that into the models being used to generate those results. And it also means that users can search using the language that we all use. No one says, I want to be within 20 kilometers of my office. We say, I want to be within 45 minutes. And and this allows people to input that into a sort of a chat or whatever, using the language that works. And then finally, getting to sort of alerts and notifications. Again, as Ben touched on, travel time data can help build a richer, personalized user profile. We can take into account their specific travel time preferences. It can help us kind of generate higher quality recommendations and encourage those users to come back more frequently. And then just finally, touching on how the travel time technology makes this possible. So the first thing is scale. So we've built an API that can calculate the travel times to 200,000 locations in a single API request. So what this means is it can cope with a huge database of properties. No need to kind of pre-filter those before you start calculating the travel times. And it's also perfect for kind of building large data sets that you can then use to train those LLMs. Kind of related to this is performance. It's all very well being able to calculate 200,000 travel times, but if that takes too long, it's not usable on a property portal. So we can now do this in 150 milliseconds. So it means it can be done at the point of search. When someone is searching for properties, it can calculate those travel times at that time, and it won't have any impact on the speed of the website or the application. Also, we have to be able to support transport modes to do this kind of hyper-personalization. So being able to support the transport modes that are specific to any individual user. Maybe people living in a city care more about public transport. Green-conscious consumers care more about walking times and cycling times. So we're able to do these calculations for any mode of transport to offer that kind of true personalization. We now have coverage in 151 countries, constantly adding more to that list. So it's a kind of a global offering. And then finally, we've tried to build a commercial model that fits with how property portals use the technology. So all of our licenses are kind of unlimited usage for a fixed fee, and we don't go down the sort of Google route of charging per API request, or even worse, charging per result within each of those requests, because that just doesn't scale up to property portal usage. So that's kind of why we went down the commercial model that we did. And that's it from me. Please come and say hello at our booth. We're working on a sort of bigger idea that we're calling GeoSearch optimization. And we'd love to talk to more property portals about what that means for you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ben, come back up on stage. Okay, first question is clear to me. What is this geo-optimization thing? Okay, you open the door, got to walk through it, right?
It's about using locations to make sure that when someone is searching for properties, they get the best results relevant to them every time. And that's not just the location of where they're searching. It might be locations of all sorts of other factors that are relevant to them. And how do we use all of that to better surface the properties that match?
So it moves more into lifestyle-based searching.
Exactly. I want access to these things. These things are important to me. How do we feed that into what we're putting at the top?
And really what at the core of this is that for the last 20 years, we've all been taught or indoctrinated on how to search, suburb, price, beds, bathrooms, search, right? And we've all, dutifully followed that way, and we've educated millions, if not billions, of people around the world to do that. But the reality is each one of us has a very different set of needs. Yeah. Travel time, kids in schools, doesn't really matter what it is. How do you cater for those individual needs? Okay, exactly. So now we've got a bunch of questions that have come up here, which I think would be good to bring up. First one's for you, Ben. On Zoopla, what is the proportion between traditional search and search by travel time?
So I'd say under 5% of our searches are using travel time at the moment, but that's our problem. poorly packaged and hidden visibility. But I'd like to see that grow in the next 3 to 6 months. We're starting experimenting as of next week with homepage links, maybe LDP contextualization as well to figure out travel times on a listing details page as well. So, but yeah, we'll start on the homepage, experiment there, and test and learn continuously.
And I guess a lot of it's about learning about your customer, right? Your searcher. The more you learn about who I am, where I may work, for example, and then you don't have to keep asking me. It could almost become the default. We've filtered this based on travel time to your work. How do you want to move this?
Yeah, our standard is alerts, isn't it? So you save a search and have alerts. I thought Javier touched on a good point in his SEO workshop as well about the growing trend in Google Trends of near. So find properties near, and if we're building travel time LSRPs, then we can have the meta descriptions to satisfy that trend as well. So
now it says, how do you get traffic data? And I assume what they mean by traffic data is, driving problems, congestion, and so on.
Yeah, so we build, this might touch on the next question as well, actually. We build all of our models from the ground up, so we're not calling out to the Google API or other APIs. It depends on the mode of transport. So driving, we kind of take all of the physical features of the network and run a load of machine learning models over the top of that to basically predict driving speeds along any road in that network, and that then gets used to calculate the travel times. Something like public transport, obviously completely different. We consolidate all of the different public transport agencies' timetables into a kind of holistic total view of public transport, and then that gets used by the models.
Okay. Now, do you use any Google APIs or open source APIs to power travel time?
No, the only sort of other provider data we use is sort of benchmarking our own models. Obviously, the first thing anyone does is go on Google Maps and go, is your travel time the same as Google's? Because they know everything. So yeah, we use that to sort of benchmark our models, but not as an input, and we're not calling out to those APIs.
Okay. So if you're not calling to those APIs at cost, or because you don't think the numbers are right?
Many reasons. I think the numbers are right. Cost, you couldn't do it through the Google API. They charge you for every single travel time. We've had mistakes even trying to get some benchmarking data, and then the bill comes through, and it's like, whoa, we can't do that again. Cost. Things around data privacy as well. We're very hot on, the data that comes from you guys is your data, it's not ours. We don't store anything, we don't write it to disk. It all gets cleared. And Google is maybe not quite as hot on that.
Okay. Travel time's a bit hidden away on the Zoopla homepage, and I think you've sort of partially answered this already. Why? Is it because portals want to save costly API calls, or is it just a learning experience you're going through?
It's a learning experience we're going through. We've also had a re-architecture of our navigation in the last sort of 6 months, where we had a primary nav with 50 sublinks, and that all just got condensed down to 5 because no one was really clicking the sublinks. There's a bit of re-architecture as well from Mason to App React that we need to do, so we're going to crack on with that as well. So there's various reasons why it's hidden, but it's not. It's definitely something for us. It fits the mold of us trying to leverage personalized experiences. So it's a logical next step, being so high converting, to go and play in that playground.
A related question around that, and we've talked progressively about this sort of fielded search versus free-form text search. How do you, especially from a Zoopla perspective, this is what I'm interested in, right? How do you think about that sort of free-form search where I can just type away to my heart's content whatever is important to me?
I think it was said earlier today, I think it's an aid it's a complementary to search. It's not yet a replacement, and I think we would experiment likewise. So we would maybe investigate a plug-and-play option and have it visible for consumers to try and again test and learn.
Run in parallel.
Yeah, exactly, and actually understand adoption rates, etc., before we go and fully invest in something like that.
Because we do have this fundamental challenge. We've indoctrinated everyone how to do it one way. May not be the most optimal way, or or serve me best as a searcher
Yeah.
over time. But you then progressively expose me to that sort of product.
And also, a lot of our traffic is doing that search in Google already, and then coming to us. So do we need to be the providers of that always? Maybe, maybe not. So yeah, I think we need to understand adoption rates and see how it progresses.
How do you then think about if I do a search in Google, I land on some sort of results page, but that results page is only going to be partially what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you then engage me in a conversation beyond just the filters?
Well, I think try to touch on it today and maybe use travel time as a next best action. But what we're trying to, and typically what Rightmove and On the Market do, they try and ask you keywords to prioritize your list. And that's great because that's high conversion because I'm telling you what I want is an intent. We're going about it a slightly different way. What I want to get to is that if you do come from Google and you land on the list page, I want to show you the most relevant results to you, Simon, versus you, Chris. And that may be based on some previous interactions that you've had on site. Again, coming through our single consumer profile and the personalization API, I want to be able to say, you're a 2-bed, 2-bathroom kind of person versus a studio, but then also what we're doing right now is using computer vision to tag up our images, create more metadata per listing so that actually if I can just tie one smart tag, I like to call them to you, maybe I show you the 2 beds, 2 baths with open plan living at the top, and that's the label that you see. So that's where I want to get to, a relevant search.
And then that then feeds back into that database about me, that then feeds back into everything
Exactly,
else.
yeah. So we gather, and if you think about, I think some consumers have multiple search missions. They might be, this is where I need to live in London. This is maybe, I'd like to have a coastal home, etc. So if we can save lists and tie tags to lists, then we can make sure that we're always serving the relevant stuff to the relevant mission.
Which is all about them building better trust.
Yeah, and it's a higher quality of lead as well for our agents.
One last question, which was up there before, is this sort of, when they have these new search features and you're actually starting to present the exact results customized to me, how do you think about that in the world of premium products, where the premium products are actually paid by the advertisers to be at the top and may not actually want to be what I want to see?
Yeah, it's always a friction, right? It's a balance, it's a trade-off, and you have to cater for it. I think it won't go away unless something completely different takes its place. So we'll have to accommodate it. But I think there are some things that if a consumer does change the sort order maybe to price low to high, then show the price low to high. Don't show the premium or the featured property. That makes no sense at that level. I mean, there are sort of steps you can do to be more relevant. But yeah, it will be a balancing act. It won't go away completely.
Fantastic. I like what, Chris, you're doing with travel time. And I love what you guys have been doing at Zoopla over all the years. So well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time
Thank you.
to present today.
Thank you.
Thank you.